Hey everyone, I'm Danica. This is our AmeriCorps worker Brett, and behind the camera is Carrie, and we're with Henry County Conservation. About 3,000 years ago, the woodland culture appeared in Iowa and was dominant in Iowa for at least 2,000 years. People arrived in Iowa about 11,000 years ago, following the retreating glaciers to a cool, wet climate covered in coniferous forests. They hunted large game animals like mammoths, mastodons, caribou, and extinct forms of bison. These Paleo-Indians were nomadic people, meaning they moved from place to place as their food source moved. The weapons they used to hunt their prey were hand-thrown spears, which were later improved when the atlatl, or spear thrower, was made. The atlatl increased the distance a spear could travel and the force of impact.
As time passed, temperatures increased and the landscape changed to deciduous forests and prairies. The large game that was once hunted had all died out, so they had to shift to hunting bison, deer, elk, and smaller animals for food. The need for constantly moving around following their food had decreased, so people began making somewhat permanent camps near water sources and trading with other tribes. Development of stone tools such as milling stones helped to grind up plant material, and gathering for food had now become an important part of these early Indians' diets.
Years went by and the climate of Iowa had finally stopped changing, and it looked like it does today. Native Americans had become much better hunters now that they had created the bow and arrow. They hunted animals like deer and bison on land and caught fish and mussels in the water. These people began cultivating native plants like gourds, sumpweed, goosefoot, sunflower, knotweed, little barley, and tobacco. Trade of items such as shells, obsidian, and pipestones among tribes became well established across the Midwest. They also developed pottery during this time and decorated them with lines or stamps at the top. Large burial mounds for high-status individuals in the shapes of cones, lines, or even animals were built to honor those people.
Many years passed and four separate cultures arose in Iowa: the Great Oasis, Mill Creek, Glenwood, and Oneota. The Great Oasis culture was located in the northwest and north central Iowa. They were hunters, gatherers, fishermen, and farmers growing crops of corn, goosefoot, sunflower, little barley, and sumpweed. They lived in earth lodges and made pottery and bone tools. The Mill Creek culture, found in northwest Iowa, relied on crops like maize and hunting for food. They also lived in earth lodges and had a highly developed trade system. The Glenwood culture in southwest Iowa lived in earth lodges near water and made chipstone tools along with pottery tempered with grit, sand, or crushed mussel shells. They fished, hunted, and grew crops for food. Lastly, the Oneota culture made shell-tempered pottery decorated with shapes and lived in longhouses. They relied on hunting, plant gathering, and farming for food. They also built large pits to store their food in.
In the late 1600s, the Native Americans first encountered the European explorers. The Iowa and Sioux were the Native American tribes living in Iowa at the time. As more and more explorers arrived, trade between them and the Indians increased. It wasn't long before allies were formed between the French and Ojibwa tribe, who worked together to push the Sauk and Meskwaki tribes out of their homeland in Wisconsin and into Iowa. As settlers moved into the new territory, tension rose and the Black Hawk War occurred. The Indians lost the war and were forced to sell their lands to the U.S. government. By 1850, no organized groups of Indians remained in Iowa. They have been forced to reservations in Kansas and Oklahoma. Today, we will be remembering the Native Americans by bringing values from old tribal cultures across all of the regions that we are going to study this year.
Nearly 1,000 years ago, a people more heavily dependent on agriculture began to replace the older woodland culture. These included groups such as the Oneota culture in eastern Iowa, which lived in Iowa from 1000 AD to 1650 AD in bark lodges and made pottery with mussel shells.
The Oneota culture was probably directly ancestral to those Iowa Indians encountered by the first European explorers when they entered Iowa. In early historical times, the tribes resident in Iowa were the Iowa in northern, central, and eastern Iowa, who made pottery with mussels and were also mound builders, and the Sioux in northwest Iowa.
In 1650, Oneota split into the Iowa, Oto, Missourian, and Ho-Chunk.
In the 18th century, the Sauk and Meskwaki were driven out of their ancestral homelands in eastern Wisconsin by the Ojibwa with the assistance of the French. They resettled in western Illinois and eastern Iowa along the Mississippi River and some of its tributaries. The subsequent forced removal of the Sauk to the western side of the Mississippi was the principal cause of the Black Hawk War in 1832.
In 1837, a band of Potawatomi from the northeastern Illinois were resettled in southwestern Iowa, and in 1840, the Winnebago of Wisconsin were moved by the U.S. Army into northeastern Iowa.
All of these tribes, except the Sioux, who had earlier abandoned their homes, were resettled by the U.S. government on reservations in Kansas and Oklahoma during the mid and late 1840s. By 1850, no organized groups of Indians remained in Iowa.
Tribes most connected to Iowa from prehistoric times to the present day: the Iowa, Meskwaki, Sauk, Omaha, Ponca, Oto, and Missouri, Pawnee and Arikara, Potawatomi, the Illinois Confederacy, Santee and Yankton Sioux, and Winnebago.
The games we're going to show you how to play today will bring values from old tribal cultures across all of the regions you're going to study this year in social studies. Honoring the person who gave you the most challenge, respecting your competitors, having courage, persistence, and skill, and being humble even when winning.
Okay, so the first outdoor game that we're going to teach you today is called Screaming Sticks. Now, with this game, the reason that they played it is to build stamina, to develop lung capacity, because, you know, with Native Americans, they had war hoops, and sometimes they might have had to swim a long way. And, of course, it all had to do with personal challenges and goals also. I only made it this far this time. Next time, I'm going to make it twice as far. Now, here's how this is played. You can pick up any old stick. I like to use popsicle sticks because there are no sharp edges, plus they're short. So if we fall when we play the game, we're not going to get hurt, at least not with the stick. Okay, so what we're going to do is you can have one person, you can have two people, you can have the entire class at once. But teachers, just warning you, this game can be pretty noisy. But what we're going to do is we're going to go down to a starting line. Back there, everybody's going to line up. One person is going to yell, go, and then you're just going to start running. And you have to hold your arm up. Okay, you have to hold your arm up, and you literally yell while you run. Here's the key. You have to take one big breath, and once you have to take another breath, that's when you have to stop. So you got to see how far you can run on one breath. Does that make sense? Okay, so now the Klamath tribe is the one in the West that played this a lot. And oddly enough, I mentioned the war hoops and things like that and the swimming. Funny thing is, it seemed that there was a lot of girls that played this game back with that particular tribe. Now, here's the other thing I do want to tell you. No high-pitched screaming. Because, first of all, when you do a high-pitched scream, a lot of those screams come from the back of your throat, and you want your sound to come from your gut. And so, you, believe it or not, you could hold more air as you breathe and include your diaphragm, and you can make it further when you run. So that high-pitched scream, you're going to run out of breath really quickly. Okay? Also, the louder you are, the more breath it's going to take also. So run, your arm has to be up, you run, make your ah sound, and as soon as you have to breathe again, the race is over. So Brett and I are going to race. We're going to see who can make it further.
On your mark, get set, go! Looks like Brett's our winner.
Whatever. Oh, but wait a minute. It's also being a good winner.
You did great.
And a good loser.
All right, so our next outdoor game is called Snatching Places. And there's a few different reasons why Native Americans are playing this game. One of those understandings was how to read people and figure out where those people are going to go next. Another reason why is it's kind of a game of intuition, and these type of games were often given great value because they teach you how to use and develop sort of social sensing abilities, such as observations, how to read people's expressions and body language and their actions. But it also helps you figure out how to use those skills throughout life, and eventually when these Native Americans grew up and became the elders of the tribe, those elders kind of possessed this sort of unexplainable skills of knowing, that they called it, but it also helped these kids learn how to make quick movements and judgments. But again, it also teaches us how to be good winners and good losers, and of course, don't give up, because eventually you're also going to succeed. In order to play this game, you're going to need some space, and you're also going to need some sort of mat or blanket. We use clear car mats, but anything will really work. What's going to happen is the players are going to form a ring, kind of like what we've got set up here with our mats, and each one is going to stand on his or her own blanket or mat, which is going to mark his awanka, or place. These places are marked by their car mats, or blanket, whatever. These places should be about 2 feet apart. One player without a mat, right, you're going to stand in the center. The others are going to be constantly changing places with one another, while the one in the center is going to try to step into a space left vacant for a moment. When that person succeeds, the player displaced is going to stay in the center until he or she's turn is available to find a vacant space. And you're going to keep playing that until the game is over and you guys are done. And this game was often played by the Dakota Sioux right here in the Midwest region. Hope you guys have fun.
Now that we've done the outside games, we're going to show you a couple inside games. The first one is called Stick and Hoop, or Ring the Stick. Now, the reason why they played this game was to, I guess we'll say, entice you to keep practicing until you get better. It also showed you how to solve a problem, cooperation, and taking turns, because you see there's 2 people here and only one hoop and stick. And of course, this game was valued for its ability to develop hand-eye coordination. Now, the other thing about this game that was incredibly important is if you were playing it in the winter, you needed something to laugh about. And so it helped bring some good times when maybe there weren't so many. So here we go. So here's what you're going to do. You need a stick of some sort. Now, I used a dowel. You could even use a pencil. You need a string. Well, we used yarn, because that's what we had. And then some sort of hoop. This just is a metal bracelet that we bought at Walmart, and we ended up wrapping it with our yarn just to cover it, just, to make everything consistent and look the same. So here's what you're going to do. You're just going to use a sweeping motion, and what you're going to try to do is get this hoop on this stick. Okay? So here we go. Just like that. Now, before you start playing the game with other people, you could just play by yourself, but if you were going to make it a competition, we would want to set our rules out at first. So you get 10 tries, and whoever gets the most on the stick in 10 tries, that's who wins. So we would want to set those parameters in advance. Now, you could also try to make the game more challenging by using your non-dominant hand. So for me, I'm right-handed. Okay, now maybe I want to try doing it with my left, and I don't know if I'm going to be quite as successful. Not so much that time. But try using your opposite hand, or change the size of the hoops. For younger students, you might want a bigger hoop. For older students, you might want a smaller one, and see just how well you can get it on there. All right, Brett, you ready?
Sure thing.
Here you go.
Ooh.
Keep going, keep trying. That's part of the game. Yay. All right.
Okay, this is our last game that you can play indoors, and it is called Rock in Fist. There are a lot of different reasons that Native Americans played this particular game. One of them is that it's a really good hiding and guessing game, but it also teaches kids how to follow the rules and also be fair when you're playing this game. Teaches you how to be good winners and good losers, just like all the other games that we've played today. But a really important skill that children learn while playing this is how to read people. It's also a game of intuition and chance, which is also one of the really big reasons why they played this game, because it's really one that teaches you how to develop those social sensing abilities, such as observation skills, that makes you sort of read your partner, look for their expressions, their body language, and maybe some actions that they are doing, and to use those skills when these kids grow up to become sort of the elders of the tribe, which gives those elders, again, those kind of unexplainable skills of knowing again. But it also teaches these these kids how to make good decision-making skills. And then, of course, try your best, don't give up, even when you're losing, because in this game, when you're losing, there's a way that you can catch up. Now, in order to play this game, and the equipment that you need, it's really easy. All you need is, of course, you need your rock to play Rock and Fist, but you also need 3 sticks. Now, these 3 sticks can be any sticks. We happen to be using a popsicle sticks divided into 3, but you can use any stick you want. Now, here's how you play. This is one game that you do have to have a partner for. So I've got my friend Brett here, and he's going to help me play. One person is going to take the rock, and they're going to put their hands behind their back with the rock, and they're going to pass that rock between their hands back and forth until they decide on a hand to put that rock in. Your hands, one of those hands has to have that rock. No cheating. When you've decided on a hand to have that rock in, you're going to put both of your fists closed in front of your partner, just like this. Now, Brett is going to need to choose a fist for me to open. Here's the thing. Brett, in order to choose one of my fists, he is not going to touch me. He's just going to point. And he's going to do that as a sign of respect. That's a way of saying, I respect you enough that I'm not going to touch you. I'm just going to point. So, Brett, I want you to make your choice and choose which fist you'd like me to open by pointing. Okay? I'm going to open the fist that he's pointing. And as you can see, he chose the wrong fist. Now, this is good for me because that means I tricked him. So that means I get a point. I won this round. So my point is one of these sticks. So I get a stick, and I get to hide my rock again. So I'm going to take my fists, I'm going to put them behind my back, and I'm going to pass the rock behind my back and choose a fist, and then I'm going to hold my fist in front of him again, and he's going to choose again.
No.
He's going to choose this time. This time, he was right. And as you can see, I have the rock in that fist. So that means I did not trick him. And now it's his turn to hide the rock behind his back. So that means I didn't win, and it's his turn to earn some points. The only time anybody can get some sticks is if they have the rock. So now it's his turn to try and earn some points. Now, it's my turn, so remember, one of those things that we learned during this game is we're trying to read our partner. So I'm going to look at Brett, and I'm going to see if I can read his body language, his face. Maybe I can try and figure it out here. I'm going to pick that one. And he opened his fist, and I got it right. So now I get the rock, and it's my turn again to try and earn some points. Now, here's where the game gets interesting. If, for example, I have 2 points, 2 sticks, I've earned them, and maybe Brett's earned 2 sticks, earned 1 stick. In order to win the game, somebody has to earn all 3 sticks. Hang on a second. Brett has 1 and I have 2. There's no more sticks to earn. If I, for example, won and I need a stick, I get to take Brett's stick away, giving me 3 points and winning the game. Pretty cool, isn't it? All right, that's how you play Rockin' Fist.
All right, so thanks for coming out, guys. Really enjoyed it. Hope to see you soon, and that's all we got today.